Who is known as the poet of nature in English literature? Lord Tennyson, John Milton, William Wordsworth, John Keats. Answer is William Wordsworth. Who is the most famous satirist in English literature? Alexander Pope, Jonathan Swift, William Wordsworth, Samuel Butler. Answer is Jonathan Swift. Who is the author of A Farewell to Arms? T.S. Eliot, John Milton, George Bernard Shaw, Ernest Hemingway. Answer is Ernest Hemingway. Who wrote the world-famous tragic play King Lear? George Bernard Shaw, William Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, John Milton. Answer is William Shakespeare. Paradise Lost was written by Matthew Arnold, Robert Browning, John Milton, W.B. Yeats. Answer is John Milton. Who compiled the English dictionary for the first time? Samuel Butler, Alexander Pope, William Wordsworth, Samuel Johnson. Answer is Samuel Johnson. The Merchant of Venice is a Shakespearean play about a Jew, a Moor, a Roman, a Turk. Answer is a Jew. Who of the following was both a poet and painter? Keats, Donne, Blake, Spenser. Answer is William Blake. Shakespeare is known mostly for his poetry, novels, autobiography, plays. Answer is plays. Who is called the poet of beauty? Edmund Spenser, P.B. Shelley, John Keats, William Wordsworth. Answer is John Keats. Who is the modern philosopher who was awarded Nobel Prize for Literature? James Baker, Dr. Kissinger, Bertrand Russell, Lenin. Answer is Bertrand Russell. In which year Shakespeare died? 1570, 1580, 1630, 1616. Answer is 1616 AD. Paradise Lost attempted to justify the wage of men to God, justify the wage of God to men, argue against the doctrine of predestination, explain why good and evil are necessary. Answer is justify the wage of God to men. Who is the author of Animal Farm? Ernest Hemingway, George Orwell, Boris Pasternak, Charles Dickens. Answer is George Orwell. Who is the author of the book Of Human Bondage? Charles Dickens, Somerset Maugham, Jane Austen, D.H. Lawrence. Answer is Somerset Maugham. Charles Dickens is a great poet, critic, playwright, novelist. Answer is novelist. Who is the author of the book A Brief History of Time? Stephen Hawking, Albert Einstein, Newton, Chadwick. Answer is Stephen Hawking. Who is the greatest modern English dramatist? William Shakespeare, George Bernard Shaw, Ernest Hemingway, S.T. Coleridge. Answer is George Bernard Shaw. Gulliver's Travels was written by Jonathan Swift, Leo Tolstoy, Rudyard Kipling, Charles Dickens. Answer is Jonathan Swift, who was a statesman but awarded Nobel Prize in Literature. Joseph Stalin, Richard Nixon, Winston Churchill, Franklin Roosevelt. Answer is Winston Churchill. Which period is known as the Golden Age of English Literature? The Victorian Age, the 18th century, the Restoration, the Elizabethan Age. Answer is the Elizabethan Age. For God's sake, hold your tongue and let me love. This line is written by Emily Dickinson, T.S. Eliot, John Donne, Matthew Arnold. Answer is John Donne. Which of the following poems of S.T. Coleridge is a ballad? Orc Without Hope, Frost at Midnight, The Rime of Ancient Mariner, Youth and Age. The Rime of Ancient Mariner. Who wrote the book Man and Superman? William Shakespeare, George Bernard Shaw, Leo Tolstoy, Charles Dickens. Answer is George Bernard Shaw. Who wrote the famous novel Robinson Crusoe? Jonathan Swift, Daniel Defoe, Rudyard Kipling, Charles Dickens. Answer is Daniel Defoe. The play The Spanish Tragedy is written by Thomas Kyd, William Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, Ben Jonson. Answer is Thomas Kyd. Which is Shakespeare's last play? As You Like It, Macbeth, Tempest, Othello. Answer is Tempest. Famous satirical drama Volpone is written by Sir Walter Scott, Christopher Marlowe, Ben Jonson, George Herbert. Answer is Ben Jonson. The Sun Also Rises is a novel written by Charles Dickens, Herman Melville, Ernest Hemingway, Thomas Hardy. Answer is Ernest Hemingway. Who wrote the two famous novels David Copperfield and A Tale of Two Cities? Thomas Hardy, Jane Austen, George Eliot, Charles Dickens. Answer is Charles Dickens. Who is the author of On the Origin of Species? Charles Darwin, Thomas Hardy, Alexander Pope, Oliver Goldsmith. Answer is Charles Darwin. To be or not to be, that is the question, is a famous line from Paradise Lost by John Milton, Hamlet by William Shakespeare, Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe, David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. Answer is Hamlet by William Shakespeare. Which of the following books is written by Thomas Hardy? Vanity Fair, The Return of the Native, Pride and Prejudice, Oliver Twist. Answer is The Return of the Native. The poem The Solitary Reaper is written by W. H. Auden, William Wordsworth, W. B. Yeats, Ezra Pound. Answer is William Wordsworth. Which of the following writers is not a poet of Romantic period? William Blake, William Wordsworth, P. B. Shelley, John Keats. Answer is William Blake. Who wrote about the idyllic Isle of Innisfree? Dylan Thomas, Ezra Pound, W. B. Yeats, W. H. Auden. Answer is W.B. Yeats. Shakespeare's Major for Major is a successful tragedy, comedy, tragicomedy, melodrama. Answer is tragicomedy. Which of the following writers are literary collaborators? Eliot and Pound, Yeats and Eliot, Pope and Dryden, Shelley and Keats. Answer is Shelley and Keats. Which of the following school of literary writing is connected with a medical theory? Comedy of manners, theatre of absurd, heroic tragedy, comedy of humors. Answer is comedy of humors. The Rainbow is a poem by Wordsworth, a short story by Somerset Maugham, a novel by D.H. Lawrence, a verse by Coleridge. Answer is a novel by D.H. Lawrence. Who wrote the famous comic novel Tom Jones? Henry Fielding, Ernest Hemingway, John Milton, Robert Browning. Answer is Henry Fielding. Which poem of Coleridge is an opium dream? Kubla Khan, Christabel, The Ancient Mariner, Ode on the Departing Year. Answer is Kubla Khan. The Romantic Age began with the publication of Lyrical Ballads, My Last Duchess, A Tale of Two Cities, Canonization. Answer is Lyrical Ballads. T.S. Eliot was born in Ireland, England, Wales, USA. Answer is USA. Browning was the composer of any of the following poems: Two Voices, The Scholar Gypsy, Andrea del Sarto, Enon. Answer is Andrea del Sarto. Who wrote the story Gift of the Magi? William Wordsworth, Robert Frost, Jane Austen, O. Henry. Answer is O. Henry. Caesar and Cleopatra is a tragedy by Shakespeare, a play by G.B. Shaw, a poem by Lord Byron, a novel by S.T. Coleridge. A play by G.B. Shaw. Who is called the father of English poetry? Edmund Spenser, William Langland, Geoffrey Chaucer, John Wycliffe. Answer is Geoffrey Chaucer. Author of The Time Machine is T.S. Eliot, Thomas Kidd, Robert Herrick, H.G. Wells. Answer is H.G. Wells. In which century was the Victorian period? 17th century, 18th century, 19th century, 20th century. Answer is 19th century. Who is the author of The Jungle Book? Jonathan Swift, Leo Tolstoy, Rudyard Kipling, Charles Dickens. Answer is Rudyard Kipling. American female novelist Pearl S. Buck got Nobel Prize in 1938 for the book The Good Earth, House Divided, The Patriot, Decameron. Answer is The Good Earth. Elizabethan tragedy is centered on love or revenge philosophy. Answer is revenge. Who wrote the book Dr. Zhivago? Boris Pasternak, Leo Tolstoy, George Orwell, Bertrand Russell. Answer is Boris Pasternak. Charles Dickens is not the novelist of which of the following novels? A Tale of Two Cities, Treasure Island, David Copperfield, Great Expectations. Answer is Treasure Island. Renaissance means the revival of learning, the revival of hard tasks, the revival of life, the revival of new country. Answer is the revival of learning. Who wrote the poem The Patriot? Sir Walter Scott, Robert Browning, Robert Herrick, Robert Frost. Answer is Robert Browning. Who is the author of The Taming of the Shrew? Rudyard Kipling, William Shakespeare, Jonathan Swift, Charles Dickens. Answer is William Shakespeare. Who is the author of Around the World in 80 Days? Jules Verne, Christopher Marlowe, Walter Scott, George Bernard Shaw. Answer is Jules Verne. What is Shakespeare's longest play? Othello, Macbeth, Hamlet, King Lear. Answer is Hamlet. Which of the following is a famous work of poet Alexander Pope? Rape of the Lock, Spectator, The Deserted Village, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. Answer is The Rape of the Lock. Who is considered as the rebel poet of English literature? Walter Scott, Lord Byron, W.B. Yeats, John Keats. Answer is Lord Byron. Who wrote the poem Piers Plowman? John Wycliffe, Geoffrey Chaucer, William Langland, Edmund Spenser. Answer is William Langland. Who created the detective Sherlock Holmes? Charles Dickens, Jonathan Swift, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Dylan Thomas. Answer is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. How many lines are there in a sonnet? 12, 14, 6, 8. Answer is 14. Most important feature of romantic poetry is beauty, nature, subjectivity, imagination. Answer is subjectivity. Where did the Renaissance start? France, Italy, England, Germany. Answer is Florence, Italy. Who is the poet of the poem Ode to a Grecian Urn? William Wordsworth, William Shakespeare, P.B. Shelley, John Keats. Answer is John Keats. Who wrote the book Ivanhoe? O. Henry, R. L. Stevenson, Ernest Hemingway, Sir Walter Scott. Answer is Sir Walter Scott. Which of these is the magnum opus of Chaucer? Troilus and Cressids, House of Fame, Canterbury Tales, Parliament of Fowls. Answer is Canterbury Tales. Which English poet was addicted to opium? S.T. Coleridge, P.B. Shelley, John Keats, William Wordsworth. Answer is S.T. Coleridge. Silent Omen is written by John Ruskin, Ben Jonson, William Wordsworth, Geoffrey Chaucer. Answer is Ben Jonson. Wordsworth was inspired by the French Revolution, the American Revolution, the Russian Revolution, the Industrial Revolution. Answer is the French Revolution. Which poetry is written by Sir Walter Scott? Patriotism, The Patriot, A Frosty Night, all of the above. Answer is patriotism. The word Renaissance came from which language? Italian, French, English, German. Answer is French. Who is called the poet of sensuousness? Geoffrey Chaucer, William Wordsworth, John Keats, William Shakespeare. Answer is John Keats. Francis Bacon is a novelist, a dramatist, a poet, an essayist. Answer is an essayist. Who is considered to be the father of English novel? Francis Bacon, Geoffrey Chaucer, King Alfred the Great, Henry Fielding. Answer is Henry Fielding. Which of the following is a comedy written by William Shakespeare? As You Like It, King Lear, Macbeth, Hamlet. Answer is As You Like It. Which period is known as Dark Ages? Anglo-Norman, Age of Chaucer, Age of Baren, Anglo-Saxon. Answer is Age of Baren. Elegy written in a country churchyard is written by William Wordsworth, Thomas Gray, Robert Frost, W.B. Yeats. Answer is Thomas Gray. Shakespeare's Julius Caesar is a comedy, satire, tragedy, historical play. Answer is tragedy. Who wrote the first comedy in English literature? John Haywood, Bishop Bell, Nicholas Udall, Thomas More. Answer is Nicholas Udall. Shakespeare composed much of his plays in what sort of verse? Alliterative verse, sonnet form, iambic pentameter, dactylic hexameter. Answer is iambic pentameter. Who wrote the book Utopia? William Langland, Sir Thomas Malory, Geoffrey Chaucer, Sir Thomas More. Answer is Sir Thomas More. Which of the following is not a poetic tradition? The epic, the comic, the occult, the tragic. Answer is the occult. What was the first fruit of Renaissance? Utopia, Turtle's Miscellany, Canterbury Tales, the Divine Comedy. Answer is Turtle's Miscellany. What was the oldest period of English literature? Anglo-Norman, Age of Chaucer, Anglo-Saxon, Jacobean period. Answer is Anglo-Saxon. What is a funny poem of 5 lines called? Quartet, Limerick, Sextet, Palindrome. Answer is Limerick. Who of the following is a famous epic poet in English literature? Charles Dickens, John Milton, Jonathan Swift, William Shakespeare. Answer is John Milton. Which was Marlowe's first play? Dr. Faustus, Tamburlaine the Great, The Jew of Malta, Edward II. Answer is Tamburlaine the Great. Who wrote The Four P's? John Haywood, Bishop Bell, Nicholas Udall, Thomas More. Answer is John Haywood. The repetition of beginning constant sound is known as personification, onomatopoeia, alliteration, rhyme. Answer is alliteration. Who wrote The Wasteland? W.B. Yeats, Robert Frost, W.H. Auden, T.S. Eliot. Answer is T.S. Eliot. Who is the first sonnet writer in English literature? William Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, Sir Thomas Wade, Sir Thomas More. Answer is Sir Thomas Wade. War and Peace is a famous novel by which writer? George Bernard Shaw, Leo Tolstoy, Ernest Hemingway, Charles Dickens. Answer is Leo Tolstoy. When did the Renaissance start? In 14th century, in 15th century, in 16th century, in 17th century. Answer is in 14th century. Who is the author of the prose Les Mortes d'Arthur? Lord Tennyson, Thomas Malory, William Dunbar, Geoffrey Chaucer. Answer is Thomas Malory. Vanity Fair is a novel by Dickens, Thackeray, Scott, Fielding. Answer is William Makepeace Thackeray. Othello gave Desdemona dash as a token of love. Ring, handkerchief, pendant, bangles. Answer is handkerchief. Which of the following ages in English literary history is the latest? The Augustan period, the Victorian period, the Georgian period, the Restoration period. This is the question you have to answer. Try to answer the question in the comment section below. If this video is useful to you, please like, comment and share. Thank you.